We are back on the Zero Hour. Joining us now is Karl Frisch. Karl is a long-standing member of the progressive community, and I might add, a member in good standing. He is the executive director of Allied Progress. He's very skilled in communications and other strategies for progressive groups and leaders, and he joins us now. By the way, he's also a regular on the progressive talk show circuit and has occupied this very chair in a previous incarnation of this program. So, Karl, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. That was quite an introduction. I feel like I should be listening to whoever it is you're talking about.
Well, yeah, and the chair is still warm, by the way, so thanks for that. So, listen, you've got, first of all, let's start with this. You're the executive director of Allied Progress. Just tell us briefly, what is Allied Progress?
Well, we're about 2 months old now. We launched at the beginning of August. Allied Progress is a national progressive organization that uses hard-hitting research and creative campaigns to hold powerful special interests accountable and empower hardworking Americans. I know that sounds like generic progressive boilerplate, but we feel like there are lots of great organizations out there that do the policy that progressives want to see put in. But there aren't a lot of folks who are holding powerful special interests accountable, the interests that stand in the way of progressive success. So people know, for example, what a for-profit college is, but they don't know who makes the money off the for-profit colleges. They know what a payday loan is, but they don't know who the payday lenders are. We know about the Koch brothers and Alec and those, but we don't know about all the other levels of powerful special interests. And so Allied Progress uses hard-hitting research and campaigns to hold those folks accountable.
Exposing the oligarchs, if you will.
Right.
Now, your new report from Allied Progress is entitled "Cheaper by the Dozen: How 12 Members of Congress Were Showered with Campaign Cash by Payday Lenders Just Before and After Taking Official Actions to Benefit that Industry." So, well, how special! How nice for them.
Right.
It's funny how that works out. So tell us a little bit about who this Dirty Dozen is. And, we all know, first of all, I've written about, you've written and talked about payday lenders. They are, in fact, the lowest of the low. We know that. We know that.
Sure are, right.
People don't.
For people that don't know, about 12 to 14 million Americans each year use payday loans, and it's a $46 billion annual industry. So it's pretty big. And interest rates for a payday loan range anywhere from 300% to over 1,000%. The only way that payday lenders make their money is by trapping consumers in a cycle of debt. And what I mean by that is that most payday customers have to take out another loan to pay off their first loan, and then that cycle begins. And typically that cycle lasts for 10 loans. So you're talking about people who go in for whatever reason, and research shows that it's to cover basic life expenses, food, water, power bill. It's not for emergencies like payday lenders would have you believe. They go in to meet one of those expenses, and then they are trapped literally into taking loan after loan after loan after loan just to stay above water.
And these are the people, by the way, who we're talking with Karl Frisch of Allied Progress about payday lenders. These are the people who are the most vulnerable among us, lower income people, people who have a job, but they're what they call the unbanked. They can't get credit cards necessarily, or they're maxed out or whatever, and so they go and they think it's just, well, I'll borrow against my next paycheck, but pretty soon, as you say, they're paying 400%.
Right, and they give permission to the payday lenders to automatically withdraw from their account, which makes it even more difficult for them to get ahead. And so payday lenders seek these people out. There have been studies that show payday lenders preying on communities of color, certainly around military bases and also in poor communities. So they know who their customers are, and they know how to trap them. In fact, during lawsuits, an insider's company training manual came out, and it showed what it described as the cycle of a payday loan.
I saw that, but tell us about it. Yeah.
That cycle of a payday loan, which was illustrated in this training manual that that the payday lenders used showed essentially a circle. It looked like a recycling logo that you might see on the back of a package. And it started with somebody taking out a loan. It showed them using that loan money. It showed them not being able to pay for their loan. And then it had two alternative scenarios. One, either they go into default and take out a new loan to get out of default, or they just keep taking out loans. And, you know, a payday executive was also caught saying that, you know, in the payday business, you've got to get people on the hook and keep them there to become long-term customers. That's where the real money is.
The devil uses PowerPoint. The
right,
the
exactly.
fact we're talking with Karl Frisch of Allied Progress. And by the way, someday over a drink or something, Karl, I will tell you about when I was targeted by the payday lender industry, because they do go after.
They're nasty.
Yeah, that they are. So now we have 12 members of Congress who, even though these guys are predators and the lowest of the low, somehow managed to speak up for them, vote for them, advocate for them in the halls of Congress, and coincidentally, perhaps or not, receive. Who are these guys? Tell us about them.
Well, you know, you're right. Payday lenders are not the most popular people in the world. They consistently poll very, very badly among Republicans, Democrats, Independents. Nobody really likes them, which is why it's so surprising to see these members going to bat for such an unsavory industry. Of the 12 members, one's now retired, but he was right there in the mix until the end of the last Congress. The remaining 11 includes 2 Democrats and 9 Republicans. Just to tick them off, the retired one is Spencer Bacchus from Alabama. And then the current ones that you've got, the Republicans are Stephen Fincher from Tennessee, Scott Garrett of New Jersey, Jeb Henserling from Texas, Blaine Luetkemeyer from Missouri, Patrick McHenry from North Carolina, Randy Neuberger from Texas, Pete Sessions from Texas, Steve Stivers from Ohio, and Kevin Yoder of Kansas. And the 2 Democrats are Alcee Hastings of Florida and Greg Meeks of New York. So those are the 12. And the way that we picked these folks.
Well, first of all, before you tell us how you picked them, I just want to say to these 12, come on down and take your walk of shame. Now, how did you pick these folks,
They have no
Karl?
shame. That's part of the problem.
That is. You're right. How did you pick these folks, Karl?
Well, we looked at the members of Congress, of the House of Representatives, who had received at least $25,000 in contributions since 2011. We chose 2011 because that's when the CFPB began its oversight
The
of
Consumer
the
Financial Protection
industry.
Bureau, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. They began oversight of the payday industry at that time. So anybody who received $25,000 in contributions since 2011 and had taken at least one of several official actions in support of payday lenders within a few weeks of receiving campaign contributions. Because it's one thing, you know, oftentimes in politics you'll see people say, the oil and gas industry has given this person $100,000. Well, it'd be nice to know if it was timed at all, if any of those donations were timed to the things that they're doing on behalf of that industry. Or is it just the industry trying to earn some goodwill?
Right.
So we looked at these donations and some specific actions that have been taken on behalf of payday lenders over the last couple of years, and we found, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in contributions from payday lending executives and special interest political action committees run by the companies and the industry trade group to these 12 members of Congress within days of signing on to sponsor or co-sponsor bills that would weaken the consumer protections, making it easier for payday lenders, or hobble the CFPB from being able to do its job, i.e., being able to hold payday lenders accountable.
Yeah, I should say, Karl Frisch, that your report here from Allied Progress, it is great. I'm looking at it that introducing the timeline is great. Representative Spencer Bacchus received $4,000 from Payday Lending PAC. 3 weeks later, he introduces a bill to hobble the CFPB. Representative Scott Garrett signs on to co-sponsor. 2 weeks, it's Pavlovian. 2 weeks, he gets his little reward, $1,000.
The most recent one was Pete Sessions for a bill that just got marked up in committee yesterday. So Pete Sessions, who's trying to become majority whip now that there's a shakeup in the House leadership. When this new bill came out, H.R. 1266, Pete Sessions signed on to co-sponsor it back in March, and the very next day he got, I believe, a $5,000 campaign contribution from a payday lending industry PAC. That bill that he got that money for was marked up in the House Financial Services Committee, which means they took it up in that committee just yesterday.
So these guys are like little mice with the pellets that drop down. Basically, they am I being a little too harsh or no?
Well, I don't know if they're addicted, but it's certainly suspicious. I mean, I would never claim to be a mind reader or know what's going on in these people's heads, but when you have, hundreds of thousands of dollars in contributions that happen to be within days of official actions taken by a number of members of Congress, things look really fishy, and you have to ask, is this quid pro quo?
Right. And I think that will always be an open question, because I think as long as you've got cash flowing in right before and right after people do something to benefit a despised industry, people are certainly going to wonder, and people are going to certainly question whether we have a democracy that is really working for the people.
Right. Yeah, and hopefully, the CFPB is looking at regulating the payday industry as we speak, which is why so much action is going on here, and why this issue is so important. The payday lenders are going to do everything they can to keep the CFPB from regulating them, because they've had tremendous success across the country slipping out of state and local regulations. They are the shapeshifters of risky financial products. If you make it more difficult on payday lenders, they'll call themselves something else. So there's a few places that have been able to really clamp down on them, places like Washington State, but all over the country, efforts to rein them in have been difficult because they shapeshift. So having one tough, uniform, nationwide standard will really do a good job in protecting, those that are most at risk of these predatory payday lenders.
Parenthetically, Karl Frisch, I got a robocall yesterday from a payday lender. I wrote it down somewhere, but it just on my cell phone, no less, which is apparently had it been sold to some lists, saying, you recently applied for a payday loan, and we have good news for you. You'd go to, I don't know what that site was, ineedmycashnow.com. It was something like that. So, yes, they're constantly mutating, shifting, trying to find new. They're like
kind of like those
alien, It's
like that scam call that people get where they say, we need you to log into your Microsoft computer right away. There's a problem with a serious spam bug. And you're like, well, I don't have a Microsoft computer, so obviously you're a scammer. Yeah, I mean, that's what this industry is built on.
Right. And so listen, the way to keep them honest is, well, I don't know if you can keep them honest, but hopefully we can keep representatives, members of the House of Representatives, honest by embarrassing them through what I would call well-deserved guilt by association with the payday lending industry. So Karl Frisch, Executive Director of Allied Progress, thanks so much for compiling this report, and thanks so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure. People can take action on this report if they want to at alliedprogress.org and tell these congressmen to do the right thing and donate the money to a charity that helps low-income people struggling with debt and credit issues.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad you added that. So, Karl Frisch, thanks again, and we will be right back after this. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.